As Eric was telling you, I am both NRA certified and I work for the Sheriff's Office. I've worked for the Sheriff's Office for 19 years. For the last 7 years have been in the CCW unit. In 2004 was when the CCW law was written. It's written under Ohio Revised Code 2923.125. That is what governs CCW. That is where all the laws take place, the ever-evolving laws take place as far as what you can and cannot do as a licensed holder. On my end, I see both sides. I see the law enforcement side and I see the instructor side as to who is out there teaching you these courses, who is certified to teach you these courses. And as of this new law that went into effect, House Bill 234, which came out in March of 2015, it now says that NRA, OPATA, or Gun Advocacy Group, which means like NRA, it's nationwide. It has to be offered in all the states, the same course, just like NRA has the same basic pistol course. All right, so if you are taking a basic pistol course in Texas, you would get the same basic pistol course in Ohio, and they would be comparable. As far as the law enforcement end of it goes, they are very proficient in their teaching, but they have a different style of teaching because it's based on law enforcement. You can also go and get military style training, but it is not a certified training. You might get it by military trainers who have been in the military, but it's not, you're not going to ever have anything signed off by the military like you would for law enforcement. One of the things that we were talking about was that do not carry sign, which would relate back to your question. The law has specific forbidden carry zones. So when this law changed, they put out a new pamphlet that you can pick up from all 88 county sheriff's offices. It's put out by the Ohio Attorney General. It's a little blue book and it says Ohio Concealed Carry Laws on it. According to the law, they refer to them as weapons. According to NRA, you're referring to handguns. According to the law, we only license for handguns. And so when you would see a law that has a do not carry sign, it is for handguns only. Okay? So your employer, if you choose to be employed by them, will make the policy. And for your employment term, that is your choice whether or not you want to abide by their laws, their rules. Do not bring your gun onto the property. As far as the state is concerned, the state has forbidden carry zones that you cannot go to. Police stations, courthouses, correctional facilities, so on and so forth. Premises controlled by BCI&I. Those are who does your background checks, who house the fingerprint cards. CCW has never been covered under the Sunshine Law, meaning that no one can call and ask for your information and find out if you have a CCW license. When all the school shootings were going on, I had many, many principals calling my office to find out if their teachers had CCW licenses. They can't find out. Husbands cannot call for wives, wives can't call for children, so on and so forth. No one knows except for you the status of your license. When they post that little sign that says forbidden carry zone where they have the gun and the sign or the line that goes through it, that is a civil liability only. The law doesn't say that you're going to be prosecuted criminally for that. That means as I, the store owner, see that you are a concealed carry holder, I would have to come up to you and say, please take your handgun out of my establishment. Then if I chose to ignore that sign and ignore the store owner, I could then be prosecuted. Not for just coming where it says no weapons, no handguns allowed. Okay? Makes sense to you? Right, because you chose employment knowing that that sign was there. They cannot stop you from your home, your residency. They cannot put that sign on your apartment building if you're renting from them. They cannot bar you from that. That is your home of residence, and that is where you pay to live, and they cannot bar you from that. They can bar your guests from bringing it in, but not you, the renter. Okay? Same with Section 8 housing. If anyone gets government assistance for it, they can't bar you from bringing your gun into your residency. Some of the things that Eric touched on were self-defense. You always have to take the high road. You always have to be the bigger person. You can never be the person for initiating the confrontation. That is just one of the things that we teach where I'm at, is that you always take the high road. Somebody cuts you off, you don't pull out your gun and start brandishing it. Okay, just because you're a concealed carry holder doesn't mean you can threaten them. If your gun does have an accidental showing, like if you're in the grocery store and you move and it accidentally is seen, that is just an accidental showing. That's not brandishing your handgun. Okay, so don't be afraid that, oh, somebody can see it. Now, if you are carrying concealed, you can't have the same clothing on every time to where it's worn and you can tell that you actually have a handgun there. That's not really concealing it. That's what conceal is all about. On your question about the registration, anytime a CCW licensed holder who has their handgun with them has a law enforcement encounter, you are required to notify them that you are carrying concealed. Whether the vehicle is registered to you, your brother, your father, your son, it doesn't matter. The minute you have a law enforcement encounter, you address the officer and you tell them you're a licensed holder and you have your handgun with you. Now, if you're the passenger, if you're both concealed, you have your handgun and you're the passenger, plain sight would either be on your lap, on the dash, and you too would have to then inform the officer. You have that duty anytime you are carrying concealed. If you do not have your handgun, you do not even have to mention it. All this information is available at the Ohio Attorney General's website, which is ohioattorneygeneral.gov. At this point, I think probably answering questions for you is going to be helpful because you've listened to a lot of slides and heard a lot of information. So any questions that you have, I would be glad to answer for you. Yes?
I go to a public university, and I obviously don't have a weapon there, but what are, would the professors be able to carry, or?
That you would have to find out from their school.
That's individual schools.
It's private property. My daughter works at the Cleveland Clinic, and so their policy is they do not even want guns in your trunk. Okay, so being that they offer security in place of that, she chose to abide by that particular law. And so with you, your school has a particular policy. You would find out what their policy is about handguns for students. Now for staff, it may be different. Some of the schools are allowing certain staff members to be concealed. Okay, and one thing I do want to mention, if you do end up finding yourself going to a concealed location site that is not going to allow it, like say you're out shopping and you're fine and then all of a sudden you get to a restaurant and oh, I don't want to risk it, I want to leave my gun in the car. If you take your magazine out of a semi-automatic handgun and you take the bullets with you, and you put that magazine in your pocket, you are not violating any law. You have now left your gun in the car and you have your bullets and magazine, and that way if your gun does get stolen, you're not giving them the guns and magazine to use on somebody. It's going to be a little bit difficult for them, but the best they can do is throw it like a brick. They can't shoot anybody with it. Yes, ma'am?
We've had problems. I think it was when we went to the Lake County Fair. We went in the side entrance and we've gone around the fairgrounds, and as we came past the main entrance, they had a sign posted, no handguns.
Right.
Well, we went in through a side entrance and there was no sign posted.
Right, so because that was not posted in a conspicuous location in all the areas, you didn't violate anything. At that point, you had the choice whether or not you wanted to stay, or if you wanted to leave, maybe put the gun in the car, but like I said, keep your magazine and bullets with you so that no one else could use the gun if they did get a hold of it. Or, you know, you could just say, okay, we've had enough, we're going home, we don't want to be unarmed because we don't feel this is safe for us.
Well, we actually asked them, and they said, no, you're not supposed to have it, so he took it out to the car. But it was just, it's like so frustrating.
Right, and you hadn't violated anything, that's why they didn't call the police on you, and nothing got blown up out of it. All they did was ask you, and that's all they can do is because they posted that sign, and that is a civil sign. It's not a criminal sign. There's no law that says that you're going to be prosecuted for this.
Under those circumstances, I don't know how anybody else feels, but I just keep it on me and wait until somebody asks me to leave.
Well, she said they did. They did ask her.
Oh, they did ask you?
Well, no, we asked them.
Oh, they went up
You
and,
asked them?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And then we made the decision to take it out
Oh,
of the
okay.
car.
I would have even asked them. I mean, if they would have stopped me and
not everyone is Bob.
The cops have egos.
They do.
I'm sorry.
But that's a very good point, is because if you do decide that you don't want to abide by the policy, well then, you might want to ask them, well, hey, you've got this posted, are you in turn providing me armed security or off-duty law enforcement to protect myself? You have a right to have that conversation with them and ask them,
Us complaining to them that they had a sign at one entrance, but they had a half a dozen other entrances and had no sign.
and where was their armed security to take care of that for you?
Yeah.
Exactly. So they've kind of, taken your rights away to protect yourself, and that is something else I want to mention is that when you are protecting yourself or a loved one, you have to be sure that that loved one would have had the same right to protect themselves as you do. Obviously, we have kids here, we have a right to protect our children, but if we had total strangers on the street, we're not just pulling over and getting involved in something. Our best resource is 911 for those strangers. You do not have a duty or an obligation to get involved in a stranger's goings-ons. You might see something, call 911. Okay, because it could be something totally opposite than what you think is really happening. And then you've taken on all this liability to yourself.
But could they even take civil action against you, for example, at that fairgrounds?
Had you failed to comply, if they would have approached you,
Yeah, but I
and
mean, if we did not.
since you brought it to their attention, you didn't commit any kind of crime. Okay, so there was no action to be taken. Had they approached you and asked you to take it out of their fairgrounds and you refused, then they could have said, okay, well, we're going to call the police on you, you're trespassing, you're creating a disturbance, you're causing a riot. Okay, those are the things that you would have been charged with.
How about this? There is no sign of the owner of the establishment to seize your weapon and says, you don't allow them in here, leave. Then you have to.
Then you have to leave, right.
You don't have to have the sign.
They don't have to have the sign, no. And you could put that sign on your own home. You could put it on your garage. And your castle doctrine protects you in your home, in your yard, in your garage, in your car. It is not just in your house. And the duty to retreat that Eric was mentioning is you may want to have a safe zone in your home, but you don't have to run out the house because you don't know how many people are actually coming in. You don't know if they've surrounded your house. You don't know if there's 2 or 3 perpetrators. You don't know because you're not there. The lights aren't on. You're not walking around. They're coming at you with unknown variables. And so your best thing is to have your safe zones as long as your line of fire doesn't cross, and then go from there. You don't have to run out of the house just because you hear somebody at the window or coming in one door. You don't have to go out of the other door. Same within your garage or your yard. Someone walks up on you in your yard. You don't have a duty to run into the house. You can stand right there and protect yourself. Questions? Yes.
I will say that my strategy in my home, if there were to be an intruder coming in, because it's a modern construction home, it's all lightweight materials, and as far as cover and concealment, let's put it that way, that's the issue. If you, when you have a plan for defending yourself in your home, you think about things like safe rooms, large pieces of furniture that would stop a bullet, a large wooden chest or dresser or something like that you might hide behind. I have literally nothing like that in my house. A person could shoot a shotgun right through the wall. So if someone's coming into my house, my strategy is I'm going out my bedroom window behind the big maple tree that's nearby with my cell phone and my handgun, and I'm calling the cops.
And
so they can have the house.
Yeah, and it's a very good strategy to keep your cell phone next to the bed, because if that's the room that you're sleeping in, you don't want your cell phone out in the kitchen because you don't want to have to walk through the house to go out and get your phone. You want it where you're at. And one of the other things that Eric had mentioned was cover and concealment. You might be hiding under the table for concealment, but the bookcase is actually cover because they can't shoot through a large stack of books. So you want to make sure whatever your plan of action is, it's the correct plan. You don't want to wait till the last minute to find out, oh, gee, the table didn't protect me, where the bookcase would have. So maybe revisit your plan. And if you do have children, go over the drill, just like a fire drill if anything were to happen. Do the same thing if you have an intruder that comes in. Go over the drill. Grandkids, when they come and visit, what is the drill if, the power goes out? Where are the flashlights at? Have a plan. It's not a bad thing to do. It's a conversation that we have to have. Yes?
I know one thing in my concealed carry license classes, they said that if you're shooting particularly in your home, to think about what is beyond.
Right.
That they said you might be shooting into the kid's bedroom.
Right. Exactly, because if you're using a shotgun for home defense, which obviously you don't need a license for any kind of gun to be in your home. You only need a license if you want to walk around town carrying concealed. So if you're using shotguns for self-defense at home, they can travel 2, 3, 4 walls down. That's not uncommon for a shotgun to be able to have that much power behind it. So another thing you might be looking at is, are you using birdshot or lead slugs, in a shotgun if you're using that. Eric also mentioned with PA, since this new law change that came about in March, we are now what's called a Category 2 with PA. We don't have a written agreement with them, but we do have a verbal agreement with them that they will accept Ohio CCW. So now we can travel from coast to coast. We've also picked up Georgia and Texas. Texas will now accept anyone's CCW license that has been given a background check since March 23rd, because the new background check is the NICS check. And that is something that the sheriff's office runs on you. When we enter your only CCW offices can enter your CCW status on the Leeds printout that attaches to your car registration. So it's a law enforcement terminal, and only that information regarding your CCW license is done by certain individuals. It's not for every peace officer out there to discern that information. They can read it, they can look at it, but they can't put it on there. So those are usually very accurate and very correct. So if you do have a license that is expired, you need to get it taken care of, because there's no more training required. If it expires, just go in and have it updated and have it put in the system correctly. The dates are written right on the front. You get 5 years on them now. So if you look at the front of your license, you'll find it. A lot of people want to stack them up. If they come in too early and renew them, your dates will end up being a little bit off, because you can come in 90 days prior or any time after now. You don't have to take a recertification course. You just want to make sure you have the current license on you that you're carrying, because that's the one that's going to match the computer system. Okay, so we're right past lunch.
Okay.
Anybody else?
Thank you, folks.
Yes. Hold on, Bob, one more.
The 2015 school, besides drop off and pick up, what does that entail?
Okay, in the original law, you could not enter a school zone. People would think you couldn't even drive on the road where it said school. That had nothing to do with what the actual law was saying. When the law first evolved, they didn't want guns around the schools at all. And so I think it was in 2008, they changed it to where your vehicle is now considered your concealed location. In 2012, they said you can now carry that handgun fully loaded in your vehicle as long as you are transporting it safely and no unauthorized person can access it. And it's not necessarily a minor accessing it. It could be a convicted felon. It could be a mentally unstable person. Okay, so as long as you're transporting that loaded handgun correctly in your concealed vehicle, if you were to go into the school and drop your child off or pick them up, they would have to exit the vehicle or enter the vehicle on their own without you getting out of the vehicle, whether you have it on your person or in your car, because if you opened your car door and someone saw it in the car door storage compartment, you could then be prosecuted. So you, the driver, cannot touch the gun in the car either on you or in the car because the car is a concealed location. Only the child exiting and entering can exit and come in and out of the school on their own. Now they're trying to make it to where if the gun is like in your trunk, in a lockbox, the glove boxes are now coming back with the locks on them. A lot of people are putting chains underneath the seat. If you do leave the gun there, they're trying to make it to where if it's already there and you're not messing with it, like you're not getting out in the parking lot and taking it off your hip and putting it in the trunk, you're okay. Nobody knows you're supposed to have it. If they see it when you open the door, it's not a big deal now, is what they're saying. So then you just take that magazine with you. Take the bullets out of your revolver, stick them in your pocket. You're not violating any laws that way. Okay? Want a break, Bob?
Hey, thanks.
You're welcome.
I learned something today.
Good.
I really
Good.
appreciate it.